Thought I would jump on here with a live stream as part of my endeavor on the weekends to do a live show so we can talk about some topics. Let's see if some folks jump on here. I did not plan this ahead, and I did give it a title, which is gold, Bitcoin, or both. By the book. Hi, can you hear me and see me clearly? I'm still getting used to my technology here. Let me know if everything is good on your end, and I'll keep on going. But I was going to last week. What I said is I will just leave these live streams just open and no agenda. But then I got to thinking today, as I was just getting a little bit of sun. Cool, thanks. A little bit of sun in the pool, that it would make some sense to throw out maybe just some general topics for discussion that I know, fuels debate. During the week, it's I share a lot of this reality stuff. On the weekends, I want to keep it a little lighter, right, in nature. So I want to, my wife always says I always kind of stir the pot with stuff. So what I'd like to do is discuss the topic that is it's actually now in the media a lot, which is gold, Bitcoin, right? Or both. Now, you'll notice I didn't say or neither, because gold and Bitcoin technically don't have any yield like you would get, for example, in equities, right, where you get dividends on some stocks, or let's say in the bond market where you get some return on your money. So a lot of traditional investors say, well, neither, because I want to make money while I'm sleeping. I want my money to make money for me. Some don't care as much about that and would rather focus on capital appreciation, or let's say traditional equity people would say, well, we'll allocate a small portion, let's say historically, to gold as a hedge against, a collapse or against inflation or whatever. But, things are changing right now in the financial markets, and some people are seeing so much capital appreciation. Anyway, to get back to, I did not include the neither for purposes of today. And by the way, leave your thoughts and comments. Love to engage with you guys. Let me know what's going on, what your thoughts are. But I did not put neither, because we are not comparing yielding assets with non-yielding assets. They're both, for the most part, non-yielding, and we'll keep it to gold versus Bitcoin, because so many people now compare Bitcoin to digital gold. Okay, so yeah, we can go on the tangent of other cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, XRP, altcoins, that kind of stuff. And some of those, you've got staking rights. You can make money with that. Not going to go down that road today. And it's definitely something I'm just starting to learn about. I am definitely not up on staking issues. But similar to gold, if you hold gold, you're not making a yield on it. Now, have you made 27% on your money, on your asset this year? Over the past couple of years, made multiple percentages? Yes, you have. Have you kept up with inflation? They exceeded inflation holding gold over the last couple of years? I believe you have. Bitcoin, absolutely. Bitcoin is one of the largest appreciating assets in the last decade. Is the stock market keeping up with this? I did a video, I believe, last week about the market, and a lot of people are saying in the coming decade that the S&P is not going to keep up, or what the S&P is going to do is yield between 1.9, and 4%, in terms of return. And so, is that going to be sufficient to, let's say, meet or exceed the pace of inflation? And it's anybody's guess. Right now, we all know inflation is higher than the, let's say, official numbers. So I say gold, Bitcoin, or both for a reason, because I'd like to get your thoughts on it. For me, and I will say out of the gates, it is both. It doesn't make, from my perspective, you're going to get, contrarian views. Some folks that don't understand, digital currency or don't want to understand it are going to say, no, we're just nothing but hard asset people. You're going to say many are going to say, well, let's say you hold, a bunch of, Bitcoin on a wallet, a ledger or a Trezor, or even a Coinbase account, and the power goes out or the internet goes down. And I guess my response is, well, you're going to have to sit on that until you get power, internet access. But I don't know how that's much different. Who doesn't now use their Schwab app to trade their stocks, right? Or whatever their chosen platform for trading equities is, on their phone. Okay, so that requires internet service. Okay, and a way to charge your phone so you can continue to be on the phone to have the access. So I guess my response is just generally, I think that's kind of a surface, a bit of a cop-out argument, because I would say this, if the power internet goes down, in your area, it's one thing. If it goes down around the country, we've got bigger problems than you get into your Bitcoin. If it goes down around the world, even bigger problems than that, right? So do I advocate for both? Absolutely. You need to have some way to be accessing, let's say, hard assets. That includes, cash, some cash. If you don't have access to an ATM or to your assets, physical metals in possession. Breezer, I agree with that. Physical metals in possession. Obviously, you got to be careful with security and all that kind of stuff. But absolutely, access to that is important, especially just like having some access to some cash. But does that foreclose again, for thought and comment, does that foreclose, let's say, optionality of watching this digital currency rise? For those that, and I'm not advocating either. Right now, I'm advocating both, right? Kept closer than 24 hours, for sure. But what I'm saying is it's probably time to recognize both as having some benefit. And again, many watching this, I shared videos. That's my dog Milo in the background. Sorry, guys. I shared some videos or did some videos recently saying, look, you have a large portion of this people in this country right now that don't care about this conversation. They don't have any disposable income to be buying gold at $3,400 an ounce, or to be buying Bitcoin at $117,000 a coin. By the way, as you guys probably know, you can acquire gold in fractional. You can acquire 1/10 ounce gold. You can acquire a quarter ounce gold, half ounce gold, 1 ounce gold. And now with Bitcoin, a lot of people don't understand this. You can acquire, so 1 Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis, right? You can acquire anything between 1 and 100 million. You can buy a very, very fractional portion if you want of Bitcoin through Coinbase or through your chosen app to do that. So there's optionality there. And the question is, and I guess I would pose for the community and those watching, hey, Roger, good to see you. Watching would be, why wouldn't you explore that? And I guess it depends on, where you're at, age-wise, if you're retired, not retired, if you want to take some risk, if you're okay with some volatility, if you need yield, on your money. I have a lot of friends in the stock market, and they love those dividends coming in. For me, that's not as important right now, because I'm building. If I have disposable income, whatever it is, I'm putting into new businesses, different things, and building. I don't necessarily care. And by the way, you've got to have, pretty good size money in the stock market to really get any kind of meaningful, let's say, monthly income from that. Obviously, depends on what you're in and what your positions are, but it has to be meaningful. For me, it's not meaningful enough to trade off not building businesses, putting it back into my business, and frankly, buying what I see to be, the largest appreciating assets right now, in the last 100 years probably, which is some of these cryptocurrencies, and not the speculative ones, not the smaller projects, but that's just kind of my thought. Love to get all of your guys' thoughts, and tell me if this concept even interests you. But again, there's a lot that are sidelined right now. They're not in this conversation. They don't care about this conversation. Maybe they care because they have an opinion, but they're not partaking. And that I know is unfortunate, but there are certain topics that appeal to some and certain topics that don't appeal to others, or that might appeal to others that don't appeal to other groups. So they don't have discretionary income, and so they're not having this discussion. So I did do a quick chat GBT 5.0, I guess it is now, search earlier, on this whole concept. Do you guys think that, I'll throw it out there for the 23 of you sitting on the line right now, do you guys think that, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin specifically, okay, is digital gold? Or do you guys think, it's a scam still? The creature from Black Life. Okay. Hey, Chris, do you think it's a scam still? I mean, a lot of people still believe that, and everyone's entitled to their own perspective and opinion. And the question is that I ask myself, and as watching news every day and taking it all in, is why are so many large companies taking substantial stakes in Bitcoin? And I'll keep talking about Bitcoin, and there's Bitcoin maxes out there, and then there's others that have other types of coins. I'm not all Bitcoin, but the question is why would they be doing that if they didn't see where things are heading? Okay. And so let me say here's what ChatGPT says about pros of gold: 5,000 years as a monetary asset, no default risk. Okay. Stores value well in inflationary or geopolitical shocks. Physical outside the banking system, no counterparty risk. And that's really important, right? No counterparty risk. Just bought some junk silver. By the way, I was going to mention, thanks, Joe, junk silver is where, if the lights go out, power's out, internet's down, that's kind of really what you're going to need, in my personal opinion, potential, other than cash, is having some small currency exchange medium like that, okay? I think junk silver serves that purpose. I'm not adding silver. I'm not comparing silver to Bitcoin for a reason, because everyone says Bitcoin is digital gold, and so that's the comparison. We're going to keep it on that track for now. But absolutely, Joe, the 90% junk silver is good stuff to have. Small denominations, and they're not making any more of it. Okay, so it's rare. Hi, Sandra. It's rare. It's going to probably get rarer as silver continues to climb, in my opinion. So absolutely not sidelining or marginalizing silver. Let's say for profit. My neighbor can't sell their home after 2 years of reductions of $210,000. That's a whole other issue. I've been discussing that. A lot of sellers find themselves now, guys, in I would say panic mode. I got some not hate, but some comments on my video last week about panic sellers, because a lot said, well, they're just taking their house off the market. They don't care. A lot of sellers do care, guys. A lot of sellers have mortgages. A lot of sellers have emergencies. They need cash. They need to liquidate. Roger, to put in Bitcoin, those companies have money to gamble. Okay. Well, there are now 200, Bitcoin reserve companies, or 180 Bitcoin reserve companies being started. So they're putting in all their resources. Gold and silver going to buy XRP from Fremont House. I agree with that. Not a bad call from my perspective, not financial advice. I own XRP. That's a different track than Bitcoin, guys, but it's got some legs, and it's going to take over a part of the financial system, I think, in the coming years, where you guys will probably be shocked by the price. Right now it's what, $3.30, $3.30 on XRP. I started buying XRP when it was about 40 cents during the pandemic, because you can only get it when you haven't had an uphold account, number one, and you couldn't sell it, right? So I just was kind of adding to it a little by little at about 40 cents, and now it's what, 3.30. Probably, no crystal ball, you're probably going, 8, 10, 12, 20, 30, 50, 100, we'll see. Anyway, the house thing, yes, a lot of sellers are reducing prices, realizing this is not going to change and they've got to get out of it. And as this starts to pick up, this ball starts to roll downhill, guys, and as this seller issue picks up steam, from my perspective, right, not a realtor, not an expert in real estate by any means, but you're going to see prices have to fall. When you start setting comps, and let's say your neighbor is it's a buyer's market in Vegas. Errol, yep, I think that's absolutely true. Buyer's market in Vegas, buyer's market in Florida for sure, buyer's market in certain parts of Texas, Austin, and places that are going to they're coming down, faster, but it's gonna pick up, I think, in most places around the country. Vegas, I was there about a month ago. It was very, very slow in Vegas. And I saw a video, I think last night, from Travis that he put out on a Friday night on the Strip. It looked dead out. Now, granted, it's August and it's 115 degrees, but people don't have the money right now that they've had in the past to spend. So yes, on the real estate, it's a buyer's market now, but the buyers are still, if you're not paying cash, guys, you're still stepping into a high sixes mortgage, even with good credit, 20% down. And is that something that is workable and feasible for those not paying cash? Everyone's got their own perspective and their own say position on that. Gold again, pros: low correlation to equities. Ballast in crisis. Cons: no yield. Cons to gold: no yield or cash flow. Price can stagnate for years in disinflationary periods. Vulnerable to strong dollar cycles and rising real interest rates. That's the con, it says, on gold. Is that GPT 5, the new one, right? Bitcoin. Let's talk about the pros of Bitcoin according to this. Best performing asset of the past decade. True physical metals, gold and silver is God's money. I agree with that, Chris. Fremont, have you bought any of the Ninja's crypto chases? So I am in the class, and he and I talk on a pretty regular basis. I've done a few. I all good there, right? Some of the people that are following this stuff and really into it deep, there's maybe made in that. I tend to, from my personal perspective, again, being a lawyer, glasses half empty guy, I tend to sleep better, just kind of, having my stuff in, the larger, more predictable situations. But these guys, some of them, if they time it the right way, they're doing real well. So let's say pros again on Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin only. Best performing asset the past decade. Limited supply, 21 million, and predictable issuance schedule. By the way, 21 million is not out there in circulation. They said like 6 million of those coins have already been lost, destroyed, or whatever. So let's say you've got 13, 14 million. You've got BlackRock, you've got Michael Saylor's strategy, buying up, hundreds of thousands of these things, right? 21 Capital, Meta Planet. So guys, at some point in time, if it keeps going on this trajectory, you're going to see the Bitcoin basically disappear. And of course, scarcity drives price, whether it's in gold, Bitcoin, whatever it is, art, collectibles, right? Roger, 39% tariff on gold imports from Switzerland will make the premiums increase. I saw something come out Friday, guys, if you heard something different, that the administration was going to be issuing some clarifying statements on that, maybe kind of backing away from that or explaining it was kind of taken out of context. I don't know. Also, that same, say, tariff on Swiss watches, I've been seeing some comments that the Swiss watch industry is going to take a big hit, if that stays in place. So Mountain View, golf, got to be toasty in the desert, almost 90 up here in Valencia. Gold is the way. It is toasty. I was out at the pool earlier. I was in my pool on a raft. It's about 115 and pretty humid today. Yes, it's warm. I heard we're making a lot of records around the state right now. Arizona, same thing. Nevada as well. So it's brutal. I missed the last comment, guys, on the S&P. Sorry if I want to post it again. I got to figure out a way to slow the comments down so I can read them and respond to them. So again, Bitcoin scarcity. What are the cons of Bitcoin? Cons of Bitcoin: extreme volatility, 50 to 80% drawdowns are normal. I will say this: you're seeing less volatility. I think you're seeing more trading ranges now in Bitcoin, and I would expect that to probably continue. Regulatory overhang in the U.S. and globally, yes, you're seeing that. You're also seeing a very pro-crypto administration, which you didn't see over the past 8 or whatever 12 years at all, right? So you've got that situation as well working in favor of crypto. Requires technical competence to self-custody safely. Guys, let me explain something to you quickly about self-custody. And yes, you need to get this stuff in terms of whatever you're going to buy and hold for future, for appreciation, capital appreciation, asset growth. In my perspective, from my perspective, you got to have this stuff held on hard cold wallets off the exchanges, right? If you're a Coinbase exchange or Uphold, whatever it is, you got to get it off those exchanges and into a Ledger or a Trezor or something like that. It's basically like a thumb drive that this stuff is held off of the exchanges. So you take away the risk of being hacked. Not all of it. Do your research on that. You've got to be very careful with your pass keys and all that. But it's not difficult. Okay, I am not a technically proficient guy. I'm kind of an old guy with tech stuff, and I figured it out. Okay, it's not that difficult. Okay, but I do not hold. If you have a little bit of trading position you want to have in some of these cryptos, fine on the exchange. But your big holdings, from my perspective, you definitely do want to self-custody. Same as we talk about with gold and silver, right? I think it makes sense to self-custody. Some believe vaulting is fine for gold and silver. Okay, I mean, if you have a massive amount, I get it. You can't, you don't want to be keeping, 3,000 pounds. Reporting all the sales retail bullion, the bank was making it harder for them to use cash only. Yeah, well, yeah, banks don't want you to use cash, right? They don't want that. But in terms of self-custody of your bullion too, of your gold and silver, you gotta be careful with security. You don't keep it all in one place, all those kind of things. But having it, in a custody of a third party, again, there's risk there. Whatever it is. Years ago, there was remember that there was a private vaulting area in Beverly Hills. A lot of wealthy folks in L.A. We be in Vegas. I will not be in Vegas for that. No, I will not. We're actually going to be leaving in about a week for Kauai with a K. Kauai, the island in Hawaii. I've never been there. Going to be out there about 10 days with the families. Hopefully, I can do some cool videos, some cool content from there, for you guys. So that's kind of our last little hurrah then for the summer before we, button down the hatches, get our oldest daughter down to high following the light, get our oldest daughter down to UCSD in September. So no Vegas in my near future. So cons of Bitcoin, again, volatility, get it. Regulatory overhang, okay, requires competence to self-custody, not really. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And no intrinsic cash flow, prices, purely market sentiment and adoption. Okay, I would agree with that, but you're also getting massive adoption. You're getting massive adoption. Now, is Bitcoin going to ever be used to just transact daily stuff? My personal layperson opinion on that is that's not what it's meant to be. There are other cryptocurrencies that will be used for that. It's not going to be Bitcoin. It's slower. It's never going to. I don't think it's intended now to serve that goal. It's for a lot of people, and evidently massive companies, institutions. It's digital currency. It's a digital store of value, similar to what we equate to gold. Okay, so that's what ChatGPT said about loving your streams, Ox. Thank you. I appreciate it. Seamless Services, epoxy flooring. Where are you at? Where are you operating from? That's probably a pretty good business you're in. Let's talk about what ChatGPT 5, new as of last week, says about having both. Okay. And again, we'll do some, if you guys want, about, we can compare, I guess, equities with bonds. We can compare silver to some other kind of cryptocurrency if you want. We'll do some of those. Some of those in the future, if you guys have any, desire to kick this stuff around. Again, weekend for me, little more light topics, not as much, economy focused and data focused as we are during the week, where I'm just sharing things I'm seeing. By the way, I got a comment. I think it was to yesterday's video. I read it this morning. Some guy said, you must have a crystal ball. How do you know it's all going to crash? And it was not a hate comment, but it was negative towards me. And my thought was, all I'm doing, I don't. Number one, I wish I did, but I have a crystal ball. But I'm just sharing things that that I'm seeing come up. And this was a story I shared yesterday from the president of the Cleveland Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, right? One of the 12 Federal Reserve banks. And she came out and admitted that we have a growing divide, between the haves and have-nots in this country, growing divide between the Main Street and Wall Street in this country. I don't disagree with that. And then, of course, there was some statistics that she shared within her interview, which I quoted about job loss and companies pulling back, AI replacing tons of jobs. AI, I will do a separate video on my recent experiences with using ChatGPT in my law practice and what this darn thing is able to do. And it's unbelievable. Just I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here, but those that don't think that AI are going to take over a lot of jobs, I think are sorely mistaken, including legal jobs. I think that AI is going to take over a lot of certainly transactional. 2 weeks in customs for profit. Huh. Yeah, well, I will say this. Let's talk about transportability. Is that a word? Or portability? To go back to the gold and Bitcoin issue. If you get on an airplane with 10 ounces of gold, you guys own gold coins, 10 ounces of gold in your hand, right? Gold coins. I don't mean a watch, but I mean, gold coins. They're going to flag you. Okay. AI can write a book by itself. Yeah, I'll tell you my AI story in a quick second. It's amazing. But if you get on that, and let's say 10 gold coins, 20 gold, a tube of gold eagles right now, right? It's 20 gold eagles at what, $3,400 an ounce, basically. Do the math. That's $68,000 of gold in a tube. All right. Will you get flagged on that? It's possible. Okay. Could it be confiscated depending on where you're at in the world? Flying in or out of an airport? It's possible. Okay. You could get on an airplane with a thumb drive with 10, 20, 30, $100 million of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And it's a thumb drive. Okay. Literally, it's a thumb drive. So again, just talking about portability, talking about silver. Silver, for the stackers out there, I'm one of them. Silver is very heavy, physical silver. Okay. 300 pounds of physical silver, you could not get out of your house if it's on fire. You could move, in about a little package of gold. So again, all these things you've got to run through your mind in terms of what's the game plan, especially those of you that are custodying physical metals yourself. Okay. So I want to mention the difference, obviously, with cryptos of any kind, but Bitcoin as well, and gold, silver, precious metals is portability issues. Okay. And you got to think about that. So let's talk about the barbell approach, which is really my approach. Have both. And it doesn't mean have both the exclusion of equities, right? Equities have a place in a portfolio. Bonds might have a place in your portfolio depending on where you're at in your life, where you're at, in what your goals are, okay? So having both of gold and Bitcoin diversifies hard asset exposure, gold's stability, plus Bitcoin's asymmetric upside. Hedge across both physical and digital monetary systems, right? By holding both. Reduces regret risk. You're not all in on one thesis being right. Obviously, you got a lot of people that are just, they're very, very, very convinced of their own position. You have you have gold bugs that say only gold or only silver, physical. And you've got Bitcoin maxis that say, no, I'm all in on Bitcoin. And so I tend to most things, the way I conduct my stuff, business, my personal life, my investments, is to kind of walk the middle road and look at the benefits maybe of some other stuff. Now, I also don't believe the old adage that you just diversify into every darn thing, because sometimes you can overdo diversification as well, and you miss out on some opportunities, right? So let's say those are the pros of, let's say, having both. Cons: still concentrated in alternative assets, no cash flow yield. We talked about that. Okay, Bitcoin and cryptos for the most part, unless you're staking a crypto or certain that it can be staked and earning passive income off of it. Cryptos do not give you yield. Neither does just holding physical precious metals. Okay, and then the correlation can spike short term during liquidity crunches. And then actually this gives you a forward view. ChatGPT, guys, by the way, I'm just reading from this. Forward view next 3 to 5 years. Gold, likely to hold or gradually rise if real rates stay low or geopolitical instability persists. I think rates are going to start coming down. I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying it's healthy, but I think it's bound to happen. It just has to happen given how things are collapsing right now. So from my personal perspective, you're going to see rates coming down. I don't know when. Maybe it won't be until Powell transitions out and is replaced. Maybe it'll be, a couple this year. But as the rates get cut, that's going to be supportive, absolutely, of gold price, and also as a follow-on silver price. I don't see geopolitical risks going anywhere soon. You guys, we're going to continue to have conflicts around the globe, just unfortunately. Bitcoin, higher upside potential, but higher crash risk. Again, weigh in on that. I think the crash risk of Bitcoin it's getting less and less and less as you have massive institutional money and Bitcoin treasury companies, piling in. Thanks, Shelly. I appreciate it. At least it's still here. It's getting a little gray here. It's coming in gray. When I get a haircut now, it doesn't look that gray now, but when I see what's on the floor, it's mostly gray. So I don't know how it's looking still dark. I don't dye it, but thanks, Shelly. Appreciate it. So again, you're going to see, I think, less as more institutional money piles in. It's just happening now. So if you guys are paying attention, it's not like debatable. You have companies, piling into this stuff, into Bitcoin. So as that happens, you're probably going to see less volatility, in my opinion. And it says both sensible if your goal is long-term preservation plus speculative upside. So gold gets you preservation of wealth. Bitcoin gets you speculation. And if you believe it's digital gold, right, it might get you, some massive upside, right? Gold is, could easily see $5, $10, $15, $20,000, right? Maybe it's, some people say, if Jim Rickards says, been saying forever, $50,000 gold. Okay, but you also got a lot of people out there now. Who did I see the other day? Is it Tom Lee? Tom Lee said he's the guy right now that started an Ethereum reserve company, right, where they're acquiring tons of Ethereum. And Tom Lee, and he says Bitcoin $1 million easy. So okay, you're gonna have 10x on that or more. So look at, again, the point is kind of my perspective is, why not think about, playing both sides. Says, and this is my blunt call. This is ChatGPT's 5.0 blunt call. If you're risk adverse but want upside, hold both. Gold is your don't lose sleep base. Bitcoin is your asymmetric bet. Ratio depends on. Missed the alert. Sorry, brother. I'm here. Hey, Mark. I didn't pre-schedule. I'll try to start doing that now, but I didn't pre-schedule it. So again, ratio depends on your pain tolerance. Conservative, 80% gold, 20% Bitcoin. Again, this is assuming to the exclusion of equities. Well, let's say you have just 10% or 20% of your entire portfolio in the gold, Bitcoin, alternative asset realm. You can still use the same breakdown, right? So they're saying 80% gold, 20% Bitcoin. Balanced, 50-50, and aggressive, 20% gold, 80% Bitcoin, right? So I just thought the ChatGPT approach to it was interesting. Again, everyone's got their own perspective. My equity investor friends, and I would say most of my closer friends are very, very heavily invested in the stock market. But I've got one of my buddies who has most of his wealth in his 401k. We'll leave that for a separate discussion. Whether you believe in 401ks or not, obviously it's pre-tax money, and they get hit when you pull it out. Not financial advice or tax advice, but he has a lot of his wealth in 401k, and he has most of it in the equities, right? So the dividends that he's getting and then reinvesting or accumulating, he wants that, but he's about 62 years old. Okay. So it depends on where you're at in the spectrum. What price do you see Bitcoin hitting by year end? Errol, I mean, the let's say analysts, I mean, everyone's been saying $250,000. That seems aggressive to me, but okay, I'll do that. That seems aggressive to me, but whatever. 150, 200. I don't think if you keep seeing the pile in that's happening with these big companies, at some point you're going to have to, from my perspective, see a corresponding chase up or run up in the price. Roger, James Howie has finally given up. Howell, excuse me. Oh, yeah, I saw that. That's the guy that threw a bunch of Bitcoin in the dump on accident. I saw that. Now he's finally throwing the towel. I mean, it's unfortunate, but again, who knew? I mean, hindsight's always 2020. Those are the kind of things that kind of make you lose sleep at night. But the guy's probably got to move on. That's what they're saying is of the 21 million Roth 401k exists. Yep. Thanks, Mark. Of the 21 million Bitcoin, 6 million at least have been lost, destroyed, or what have you. They're in landfills somewhere. They're not out. They're not on the market. They're not sitting in anybody's possession. That's true too. You gotta have your passcode. You have to have your seed phrases. There are things you have to do, but it's the same thing as protecting physical precious metals. I mean, you've got to take certain precautions. From my perspective, that's not a reason not to get into it and not to take it seriously and not to profit, from the upside on this, right? So, because just like AI, we are going, whether we like it or not, we're going into a digital currency environment or a good portion of a digital currency environment. Okay. So I got sidetracked, but what was I going to say, guys? On the cryptocurrency, no one's got a crystal ball. I had a client of mine in 2017 asked me to form a company for him. He was going to start mining Bitcoin. And I kind of thought, oh, that's kind of cute. That's cool. Fine. We formed a company and he paid me. He asked if I wanted to get paid my fee in Bitcoin. At the time, Bitcoin was 2017. I looked it up. It was between $1,000 and it ran in 17 up to like 20,000. It was early 17. I think it was about $3,500 per Bitcoin. At the time that I formed this crypto mining company for my friend. And he thought that was going to be the next best thing. I knew nothing about it. And he said, look, if you want, start acquiring this stuff. And I didn't learn about it, didn't take it seriously. Obviously, did not take advantage of at the time, didn't realize it was an opportunity. In hindsight, if you're sitting on, if you would have bought, 10 Bitcoin at the time at $3,000, right? What would it be now, right? It'd be 30,000. It'd be over $1 million. Of course, everyone's got those stories, whether it's a stock, gold, you miss silver, whatever it is. But I did take that little fee in Bitcoin. And then over the years through COVID and such, I kind of moved it into some XRP and I spread it around a little bit, but it did. The one day I opened up my Kraken account. I said, wow, that little fee was like $8,000 or $9,000. And I kept rolling into some other stuff. That was years ago. But anyway, hindsight's 2020. The question is, are we still early? You got to believe if you're doing research on everyone is still very early. Okay. You might say, well, we can't go buy ATM. We can't go buy whole Bitcoin. So what? Look at potentially, buying a little bit of one. If it interests you, if you're truly gold and Bitcoin, TM, I think you're right. I'm on the same page there. That's why I thought it would be a a good topic to share, for a bit of a live stream today is, is it or both? And I think you got to think about both. Okay. So I don't know. I don't want to ramble too long today. Been on for, I don't know how long, guys. 40 minutes already. It's up to 13 now. It's gold dump my Bitcoin, bury the gold, invest with the coin. Okay. 13 ounces of gold. That's awesome. 13 ounces is really, really good. Be careful sharing that, obviously, and make sure you have that stuff, in a place that's not going to get, taken. But that's fantastic. And my personal perspective is we're gonna keep seeing it go up. You just have too many factors weighing in the direction of money printing machines cranking back up, interest rates coming back down. Yep, another fishing accident. Imagine that. So many fishing accidents lately. It's crazy. You didn't think that'd be so frequent. But you're going to see, my perspective, rates, getting cut, and you're going to see continued geopolitical stuff, I think, around the globe. So from my and look, also let's not avoid this topic or forget about it. We have a currency, fiat currency, right? The dollar that is losing purchasing power. Okay. This is the Great Reset. It's ongoing. I think so in some respect. But what does it get reset to? Do they revalue gold? As I've seen some stuff on that lately. They revalue gold now to 15, 18, 20,000 an ounce. And if they did, can they take care of debt with that? Would they being the United States government, go and buy Bitcoin? Been all these different things put out there about it, but they can revalue gold as well. So there is a transition. Probably we're transitioning into a digital currency economy. Probably. Well, Joe just hit it. It's going to be tokenized. I think that's true. Every asset is going to, whether I want it or not, believe it or not, it's going to be tokenized. And so, am I ever going to be convinced that gold will not have a place? Absolutely not. Gold, silver, it's been money, right? And that's what it's always going to be. Okay, so from my perspective, you always keep your position there. But if, and a lot of the people in this country understand, we're just barely putting food on the table. But if you do have the ability to, and some disposable income, to look at and diversify into this new digital currency world, it's pretty crazy. So I don't want to go too long today, guys. I can't believe it's been 43 minutes. I just wanted to jump on and throw the topic out there. So a little bit of response to that. I appreciate all of you that are here, and maybe it generated, some thought for some, and we'll continue to throw out some topics that hopefully, get us all thinking about, there's no right, not necessarily a right or a wrong way. Again, like I said, most of my friends are 100%, 100% equities, very little exposure to precious metals. And if they do, they're in ETF, paper gold. And from my perspective, that is not being exposed maybe to the spot price, but you're not holding, you don't own it. So let's say one more parallel, hit the like button. Thanks, guys. One more parallel is that with cryptos and gold, you can hold it. Okay, you hold it, you own it. Okay, is there any counterparty risk? That's debatable. Certainly with gold and silver, there is not. Yeah, they did have a strong week. Mining stocks, Joe, are going to catch up. They're going to catch up. Yeah, the pennies are going to go away. Pennies are going to go. Pennies are. I don't know whether they're going to be pulled from circulation or stop making them, but they are going to do that. Well, 401ks get bailed in. There's interesting. When this stuff starts to collapse, what's going to happen? I have a view on 401ks. It's not great per se, but again, I'm not in that. The guys and gals that work for an employer and have contribution and all that stuff, I get it. It's a way to look down the road and say, it's it's what my futures are going to be is my 401k as I start drawing from that. Me, it's about right now, guys. There are 3 buckets for the 401k. Matt, we just spread the word according to Mark. Yeah, look, I'm not going to say I'm anti that. I just, as a self-employed person, say no to digital tokenization of wealth. I mean, you can say no to it, but you're going to have everything probably on the blockchain at some point. Whether people protest against it or not, it's probably the way things are going. But again, not to the exclusion, in my opinion, of precious metals and doing what you understand, has been money for 5,000 years, and that is having some hard assets outside the system. That, in my opinion, is never going to change. We'll see where values go, but I think gold keeps going up, silver keeps going up, and in terms of stock market and equities, let's see. I mean, I get a lot of comments on this, why can't it keep going up? I mean, it can keep going up. The market can keep melting up for as long as there are buyers out there. And if the market, if the buyers see, further rate cuts or rate cuts reigniting in the near future and see more and more money printing, that's going to be supportive for even all-time highs. NASDAQ Friday all-time high, right? TM says all assets will continue to go up. I think that's true, right? TM, just get in. Yeah, I mean, again, that's the point. If you guys are, if you're watching this topic, I imagine you are, you've got some funds, you've got some stuff, you have some stuff, you're in the game, right? You're in the game in whatever asset class you choose or classes. Just do something, right? Put your money to work. Sitting in a stack of cash is not going to do it. Building a bunker and hiding is not going to do it. Crazy. Talking on the benefits of dying economy disguises future benefits. Well, yeah, it is, and I'll get back to this AI thing. We definitely, I think, are going to have more challenges in the labor market. Probably we're going to see this hitting harder and harder. I saw a comment from somebody this morning saying first quarter 2026 will be a disaster. The AI thing is crazy. I did I wasn't going to share this, but whatever. I'm here talking now, so I'll do it now. I can always reshare the story. I had a lawsuit on my desk the other day. I got in for fraud and a bunch of causes of action against a client of mine. 96 pages. The complaint portion of the lawsuit was about maybe 20 pages, and there was about 75 pages of exhibits, several exhibits, contracts, leases, estoppels, different things, fine print, different font, different formats attached as exhibits to this complaint. And so I thought, well, I'll just try this for the heck of it. And I did a prompt on my ChatGPT, the 5.0, which is the one level up. I pay like $20 a month or something for it. And I said, if I upload this complaint for you, can you analyze this with all the exhibits and let me know if I have any grounds under California law to support a demur, challenge the pleadings, or a motion to strike, including analyzing exhibits and advising me of any inconsistencies between the exhibits and the pleading. And of course, the kid said, yes, upload your document to it or us or whatever, and we'll advise. So 96 pages, right? It was a PDF. Shoot this thing up, and it with literally as fast as it hit, ChatGPT started laying out a multiple page strategy about how I would go about, or suggesting how I would go about, challenging this potential pleading. And it picked out, again, 96 pages, 75 pages of which was fine print exhibits and leases and the estoppel certificates. It picked out inconsistencies between those documents and what the law firm had drafted as part of the complaint, right? AI customer service bots starting to take over, that's for sure. But it did something that literally I I could not have done, 5 lawyers could not have done in multiple hours. For me to comb through 96 pages, 75 pages of exhibits, and then compare that with the allegations in the lawsuit, and then come up with this strategy, um, I would say I was somewhat shocked by that. Now you got to be very careful, right? If you're a lawyer, because I know a lot of lawyers get in. Yeah, it's no. I was shocked, and it said, "Do you want me to?" And it said, "Do you want me to write?" It said, "Would you like?" It knows you learned your name. It says, "Matt, would you like us to write the motion for you? In your jurisdiction or whatever it is." And it just never ends. So this is taking over. And look, from my perspective in my legal profession, especially say paralegals, litigators that are is a robot going to go into court and object and try a case? Maybe in 100 years or something, I don't know. But my focus now is you're going to have this AI and ChatGPT or whatever it is take over so many, let's say, roles for lawyers. Okay, let's say in the transactional field, in the research analytical field, because again, I could have had a law firm, 5 lawyers bill in that time, or put a prompt in while I'm having coffee in my backyard in the morning, and it gives me that kind of information simultaneously. There was zero delay. Wham, right? And it did give me cites to California statutes, case law, which of course you've got to go check. You can't take any of this stuff at face value. But that's my recent AI story as a practicing California litigator. And it was a very complex pleading. The allegations of this pleading were drawn by a big, fancy law firm up in LA. And it was in depth, and it's for fraud and misrepresentation, concealment, a whole bunch of stuff. And this thing, man, just generated so much information for me, and it was just things I wouldn't have, as being a lawyer for Q&As for sure. You guys can ask me anything you want. I'm happy to answer them if I can. But for me, even practicing law for 30 years, to catch the things it caught. And I wouldn't go into details, certain doctrines, collateral source issues, and stuff that I just wouldn't have picked up on. I got to be honest. Okay, so that's where we're heading with AI, and I think as part and parcel, to circle back to this cryptocurrency thing, that's going to be hand in hand. Okay, with it. So no, am I moving away from gold and silver? Absolutely not. Believe in it, love it, physical form. Yes, on cryptos, on certainly the big ones. A loss of junior lawyers to move up. Yeah, that's true, Joe. I think that's true. But how's that going to work through law firms? Now, some law firms will just maintain the specter of, hey, you client need us, you need us, with paralegals and associates, junior associates, junior partners, senior partners, and they'll keep up the charade. But look at, as clients, potentially, you guys, understand that that's where it's going. You're not going to allow that anymore. Okay, you're just not. Even if you're an insurance company with an insurance defense firm, billing you 150 an hour, but they're just billing on volume, you're going to say, look, how are we implementing AI to help the process? Land, yeah, we'll do that as well. We'll do that's not part of this comparison, but land is also something to consider as well. And the yield on land, but you got to consider, that yes, it does appreciate, but if it's an income producing asset, you've got to work that. Okay, it's a job, whatever it is. Okay, so I think my take, can there be more than one power of attorney for a person? Again, California, you can have joint. Okay, not specific legal advice. You can appoint a joint agents in fact to make decisions together. Okay. Or alternatively, or you can have a backup. But my understanding is you wouldn't want to have 2 powers of attorney out there appointing 2 different people. You're going to create a conflict. And usually, when you draft one power, it normally says there are no other powers of attorney in effect. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Please get your own specific analysis for your situation. All right. Again, that's out of California. So look, you're going to have, I think, I saw something the other day, people saying that so much money is going to move out of real estate and into Bitcoin and the large cryptocurrencies as they see the capital appreciation over the coming months, years, that, let's say, Bitcoin will yield as opposed to land. I don't know, all in, what is, what is the cap rate now? What is the, let's say, yield on land? I mean, obviously it depends on what you're doing. It's commercial, residential, but it's definitely not, even with the work involved, right? And with the maintenance and costs of maintenance, right? You don't pay property taxes to hold Bitcoin. You don't pay insurance to hold Bitcoin or gold, right? And so, you got to give this stuff some thought. What are you getting in return for what you're putting out? And I think thanks. Hi, Danush, how you doing? Good to see you. You're going to start seeing, from my layperson perspective, a shift in the mindset where people start saying, yeah, why would I go and work this rental property business or this commercial, real estate, holdings business for 10% a year or whatever it is, when I can go and earn, 50% or 100% or 300%, on, hey, Ron, on Bitcoin or on some other cryptocurrency that is getting, adoption. You start seeing massive appreciation, in your, let's say, in your wealth. I know there's tons of channels now I get on my feed now about, Bitcoin is it and it's all in. Again, everything kind of moderate, look at your different scenarios, but just the people that say no, that's not workable. You will find that most of those people, just don't want to learn about it, and so it's kind of old school, like the Warren Buffetts, right? Where that's a bad comparison because this guy's obviously a billionaire, but that just don't want to understand that there is a changing, kind of the guard, and I'm an old timer, for the most part, compared to a lot of people I deal with every day. And so it's been a big mindset change for me too, to think it through. So anyway, that was the topic for today. I hope you guys thought it was interesting. I really am on now over an hour again today, so I'll stop. Chatting. I appreciate the comments, and again, the Saturday live stream. Take off tomorrow, get my workout, and help my mom do stuff. Be leaving for Kauai a week from Monday for 10 days, so I'll check in from there. We'll be doing shows next week. Let's see. Michael Burry. It would be interesting to see. He's been pretty quiet. He was one of the big shorts, right? So yeah, he's been pretty quiet lately. I don't know what he's investing in. KTM, thanks. So anyway, I know during the week we're trying to cover more current topics, and as things, I just want you guys to know, as I see positive developments, as I see something that's really meaningfully positive. I don't mean, bye, Shelley, thank you for being here. I don't mean people chasing the stock market up, or all-time highs. All right, enjoy the bonfire. That's not something that I would say. You have a good weekend too. That's what I would say is, let's say, positive news on the economy. That's detached from the reality of what millions are going through, right? As I've been sharing. So I try to look at it from that perspective as well. For the haves or the people, in the top, let's say 20%, 10%, 5%, whatever you guys are, you're not looking at it from the same perspective. Okay, and that's just to be expected. You're going to be, in whatever, zone you're in and associating with people. It's confirmation bias every day, right? But for a lot of people, 80%, it's bad. And so I do share that, not to be doom and gloom, but just to have everybody wake up and understand kind of that's what's going on right now, and that's what's going to affect GDP, right? We're going to have. Definition of wealth will change, I think, because of AI and because of cryptocurrencies, guys. You're going to have people that are sitting on 2, 3, 4 Bitcoin right now. They're going to be multi-millionaires. Don't forget to work out. I work out 6 days a week, folks. We'll talk about that. Today's my day off on Saturday. 6 days a week for at least an hour a day. That is very important. You're going to have people that hold just a very small, let's say handful, or even let's say one, who knows, Bitcoin, they're going to be multi-millionaires. You're going to have someone that has, maybe, 1,000 XRPs, maybe even less, is going to be probably multi-millionaires. So you're going to see a wealth shift for sure. Could I be wrong on this? Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. Who knows? But boy, the adoption rate is accelerating fast. And so is the not only corporations, institutions, but just big money. And the ones that were telling you back in 17, 18, 19, 20 that it's a fraud, a scam, they were buying it up. All right, they were buying it up. So I'll leave it there today. I hope you enjoyed the topic. And with that being said, by the way, just I'll link this stuff again. I forget in the live streams. I know it's the same kind of a deal. It does uploads as a permanent video when we're done here. Thanks, Roger. I agree with that. I mean, say Ray, I agree. The gains you guys will make, probably, again, not financial advice, on cryptos, you can roll and should roll at some point some of those back into hard assets, okay? There'll probably be, I think Travis has been talking for a while about having a big play from crypto back into physical silver at some point in time. You're going to see this happen. But again, what was I going to say? Workouts, the weekly. So that's about it, guys. I saw I got sidetracked. I will talk to you throughout the week. Okay, I'll be in the office. Control agency will be contested. Okay, not available. Thanks for reading my comment as you're trying to get to your family. No problem. Sorry, they move fast. I got to slow the comments down. I think you can put them at half speed or quarter speed so I can actually see them, because the ones that are longer, as I'm talking and trying to read, they scroll up off the screen. So anyway, all of you guys that are here, thank you. Let's keep doing the weekend lives. I enjoy it, and always want to get your thoughts and input. And on topic, here's what I was going to say, is I will share, I'll put in the description again, the link through LegalZoom. I preach this all the time. I'm going to be consistent. Guys, please do a will. Get a will or a trust in place for you and your family. I know we're off topic now from crypto and gold, but it's LegalZoom. I don't care who you do it with. Get a lawyer. Go wherever you want. But put a will in place. I think LegalZoom's got National Write a Will Month right now. I'll put the link in the description below to my affiliate link if you want it. If we're talking about starting businesses, I all the time I say start your own business. I do not back away from that. I just launched a new business with a couple of good friends of mine, my banker and a good friend of mine who owns a restaurant out here. I'll share what we're doing here pretty quickly. Waiting for the trademark to get back through. But it's going to be a fantastic business. So I am doing that. Okay. And I say all the time, start it, but do it the right way. For this new business, I formed a corporation. Okay. I put in place a shareholder agreement with myself and my partners. I put in place buy-sell provisions. We have our minutes done. We have a separate tax ID. We have a separate bank account, separate credit card, separate everything. Okay. So when you're going to form a new business, I think you should do it. Someone wrote me this morning saying you need money to make money and yada, yada, yada. I said, look, at some of the greatest businesses of all times were started during the worst of economic times. So I don't think that's an excuse. Get into something that has low startup costs and start working it. Okay. So I'm doing it, and let's see. You don't know until you try. But again, I'll also leave the link to Corporate Direct. Good guys, father and son own it. They just set up entities around the country, corporations, LLCs, partnerships, flat fee stuff. The father, they're both lawyers. The father, actually, great story. The father was Robert Kiyosaki's financial advisor for many, many years. Still knows him real well. He and I got a chance to talk a couple weeks ago. So they're really good people, and they can get it set up for you anywhere in the country for a flat fee. And I come out and say all the time, I try to reference on the channel that they do it for cheaper than a lawyer can. They do it for a fee less than I can do for my time. So if you want to look at that, check that out. And for emergency food, as always, Augustin Farms. I don't have the ability here in Southern California to have a food production and have a farm and have all that kind of stuff. So as an alternative, if you guys are maybe in a situation like me, or maybe in addition to, consider some other types of food storage. Ogden Farms, I think, is a good product. I have a link also there I'll share with you in the description, and we'll do a separate live one weekend, I think, again, on the food storage, okay? But again, no bunker mentality. You guys got to go out there and seize opportunities now. Things are changing. Got to get some job security. AI is, well, whatever. I know in my profession, from what I saw last week and just from what I got out of that thing, it's going to take over massive, massive legal jobs. So it's probably going to happen industry wide. We know it's happening in factories, right? So just stay awake, be aware of what's going on, and plan down the road, especially if you're not retired, and you're, and maybe your job is at risk of being becoming obsolete. Thanks, guys. I don't know how I rambled for 65. What was it, 65 or minutes? But somehow I did. Appreciate all of you guys for liking and subscribing. I would humbly ask if you would share the videos that we do. I try to put out content that I think is not just gotcha stuff or clickbait or doom and gloom, but just reality stuff. And look, a lot of the younger generation, thanks, Joe, a lot of the younger generation, people in their, 20s, 30s, 40s, they need to hear this stuff, understand it, because a lot of them aren't getting it. And, there's a window of opportunity that I think is closing. So, all right, I appreciate you. I'm going to click off here, and I'll see you throughout the week with regular videos. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.